All right, go. If you feel like leaving me alone at a moment like this, then go. Nikolka looked embarrassed. Well, then I'll just go out into the yard and listen. And I'll go with you. But Lena, suppose Alexei comes back while we're both in the yard? We won't hear the front door bell out there. No, we won't. And it'll be your fault. Very well, Lena, I give you my word of honor I won't move a step outside the yard. Word of honor? Word of honor. You won't go past the gate? You won't climb up the hill? You promise to stay in the yard? I promise. All right, go then. The city was swathed in the deep, deep snow of December 1918. Why were those unidentified guns firing at 9 o'clock at night and only for a quarter of an hour? The snow was melting on Nikolka's collar, and he fought the temptation to climb up the snow-covered hillside. From the top he would be able to see not only Podol but part of the upper city, the seminary, hundreds of rows of lights in big apartment houses, the hills of the city dotted with countless flickering lights. But no one should break his word of honor, or life becomes impossible. So Nikolka believed. At every distant menacing rumble he prayed. Please, God. Then the gunfire stopped. Those were our guns, Nikolka thought miserably. As he walked back from the gate he glanced in at the Shklov's window. The white blind was rolled up and through the little window in their wing of the house he could see Maria Petrovna Shklov giving her little boy Peter his bath. Peter was sitting up naked in the tub and soundlessly crying because the soap was trickling into his eyes. Maria Petrovna squeezed out a sponge over Peter. There was some washing hanging on a line and Maria Petrovna's bulky shadow passed back and forth behind, occasionally bending down. Nikolka suddenly felt how warm and secure the Shklovs were and how cold he was in his unbuttoned greatcoat. Hash. Deep in the snow, some 5 miles beyond the outskirts of the city to the north, in an abandoned watchman's hut completely buried in white snow sat a staff captain. On the little table was a crust of bread, the case of a portable field telephone and a small hurricane lamp with a bulbous, sooty glass. The last embers were fading in the stove. The captain was a short man with a long sharp nose, and wearing a greatcoat with a large collar. With his left hand he squeezed and crumbled the crust of bread, whilst pressing the knob of the telephone with his right. But the telephone seemed to have died and gave no response. For 3 miles around the captain there was nothing but darkness, blizzard and snowdrifts. By the time another hour had passed, the captain had abandoned the telephone. At about 9 p.m. he snorted and for some reason said aloud, "I'm going mad. Really the right thing would be to shoot myself." And as though in answer to him the telephone rang. "Is that number 6 battery?" asked a distant voice. "Yes, yes," the captain replied, wild with excitement. The agitated, far-away voice, though muffled, sounded delighted. "Open fire at once on the target area," quacked the blurred voice down the line. With maximum firepower, the voice broke off. I have the impression," at this the voice was again cut off. "Yes, I'm listening," the captain screamed into the receiver, grinding his teeth in despair. There was a long pause. "I can't open fire," the captain said into the mouthpiece, compelled to speak although well aware that he was talking into nothingness. "All the gun crews and my 3 lieutenants have deserted." "I'm the only man left in the battery. Pass the message on to Post Volinsk." The captain sat for another hour, then went out. The snowstorm was blowing with great violence. The 4 grim, terrible field guns were already half buried in snow and icicles had already begun to festoon their muzzles and breech mechanisms. In the cold of the screaming, whirling snowstorm the captain fumbled like a blind man. Working entirely by feel, it was a long time before he was able to remove the first breech block. He was about to throw it into the well behind the watchman's hut, but changed his mind and went into the hut. He went out 3 more times, until he had removed the 4 breech blocks from all the guns and hidden them under a trapdoor in the floor, where potatoes were stored. Then, having first put out the lamp, he went out into the darkness.